If you need immediate help, please call the National Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline at 1-800-662-HELP.
When you gonna let me get sober? Let me go home and start over.
Welcome to Clean and Sober Radio, brought to you in part by Jefferson University Hospitals and Thomas Jefferson University, providing excellent clinical and compassionate care in the Philadelphia region, a proven leader in healthcare and education since 1825, and Acadia Healthcare, with locations on the East Coast. Acadia maintains a standard for excellence in the treatment of behavioral health and addiction concerns. And now, here are your hosts, Gary Hendler and Mark Sigmund.
Hey, thanks for joining us and welcome to the show. Clean and Sober Radio features real people with real stories about addiction to drugs and alcohol. Mark, what do we have this week in recovery news?
So, Mexican President Lopez Obrador said Friday that family values and a lack of hugs has led to the U.S. fentanyl overdose crisis, where an estimated 70,000 people a year are dying from fentanyl. He has been stung by calls from the United States to designate the Mexican drug cartels as terrorist organizations. He also minimized Mexican involvement in the crisis, even though most of the fentanyl is produced in Mexican labs using Chinese precursor chemicals. Cartels are making so much money from the U.S. that they don't seem to need to sell fentanyl within Mexico. So, unbelievable. You know, I mean, it just makes your blood boil, doesn't it?
Yeah, it absolutely does. It's a never-ending story of horror.
Yeah.
Despair.
And to blame us, to blame the United States, and all of this fentanyl is coming into the United States from Mexico, pretty much all of it. I mean, there's some coming in from the mail and things like that, and so crazy stuff.
What else you have?
So Nevada is set to open up marijuana lounges in the coming months, and traffic experts fear that there will be an uptick in marijuana fatal crashes. Already, the state's number of fatal accidents involving marijuana has doubled from 2016 to 2021. The lounges will essentially act as bars for cannabis consumption.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and it's kind of what you and I have been talking about for a while about the accidents. That's been our concern all along.
Yeah, absolutely. We've from the beginning of all of this legalization, it's complicated. It's a very imperfect setup across the country, and people are going to suffer. Yes, and it seems like probably 2 in 10 drivers are somewhat under the influence of marijuana or residually under the influence. Yeah. So it's unbelievable. It's rough. Okay. When we come back, Tammy Leslie is going to talk to us about the death of her 25-year-old daughter, Christina Marie Gribbin, from a violent situation only to be found on the streets of Kensington, Pennsylvania in 2020. Unspeakable tragedy, but Tammy has turned pain into purpose, and we're going to find out the rest of the story when we come back.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
A cancer diagnosis can knock the wind out of you. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health can help. Our brand new Asplund Cancer Pavilion brings you 86,000 square feet of cancer-fighting science for truly comprehensive care. Backed by the strength of an NCI-designated cancer center. Call 1-800-JEFF now. The Sidney Kimmel Cancer Center at Abington Jefferson Health. The power to out-science cancer.
Hey everybody, this is Tommy James, and you're listening to Clean and Sober Radio, and so am I.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
We're also heard on these great radio stations: WGAC, Augusta, Georgia; WHFS, Tampa, Florida; and WWWE, the Big Talker 1100 out of Atlanta, Georgia.
All over the country now, Gary.
So we're doing good. We're doing good. Okay, we're going to start the show, and we have two guests on. As I said, we have Tammy Leslie on, the mother of Christina Gribbin, and also one of Christine's very good friends, Sophia Hendler, and obviously she is my daughter. So we're all in here together today, and we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about your story, Tammy, and what happened and what your life is today. And, some of it is unspeakable, but you being here will help. You will help people. Somebody in our audience is going to listen or watch this and feel some comfort from your story. So welcome to the show, Tammy.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
We know
very much.
We know a couple things. Mark and I know a couple things. We know it's a extremely difficult subject. I don't even know how difficult it is. And we also know you're a little nervous, but don't be nervous.
I'm okay now.
You're okay?
Yeah. I have Sophia, and just to clarify, it's her very best friend ever.
Right. And we're glad you're
Kindred
here.
spirits, those two.
We're here. Okay, so give us a little background. How did Christina grow up? What was her family life like?
Christina had, honestly, the most amazing childhood you could think of. So
why? Why do you say that?
She really did. She just had everything. She had a very, very normal, middle-class childhood. She had everything she could want. She was offered everything she could want. She played all kinds of sports. She was on sports teams. She was involved in everything. I was involved in everything at her school. I did all of the PTA parent things you could do. I went on all her field trips. She used to have all sleepovers at her house. Everything you could imagine, she did. Everything.
It sounds like, the perfect story. And, a lot of us who got into drugs and alcohol and addiction, a lot of us they weren't all horror stories growing up. And it sounds like Christina had a really loving family.
She did. She very much so. And even extended family, which all are local. So she honestly had everything. And she was a wonderful child. Really, really great, outgoing personality, a leader personality. So, it did take a turn for the worse when she went to middle school, though. That's kind of where it all started, with bullying in middle school.
She was being bullied in middle school?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
God, I hate to hear that.
Yes.
Me too.
It's the trauma.
It is. And, I get a lot of clients, as a counselor, that mention, these certain times developmentally where they were bullied, and it definitely has a long-term impact. What kind of sports did she play?
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so she played soccer, and she played, when she was really little, she played t-ball, and then she played softball. She was very good at it, and they won the district championship. And she played soccer, and she did gymnastics for years, and she did horseback riding in the shows and everything, and she did dancing on dance teams. She did cheerleading for many, many years, and what else? I can't even think of everything else. Dance, all kinds of stuff.
Wow. Yeah. So was there a period of time in middle school where you started to feel like she was maybe hanging out with the wrong people? What other kind of things?
Was she? Do you feel like you noticed a change when she was getting bullied, and was she opening up about it to you, or kind of keeping it to herself?
No, she didn't change. She came to me in middle school, all in 6th grade, and she was upset the whole year, and she was begging me to switch schools because she was getting bullied the whole school year, and not because your normal bullying, like where the child is kind of like a loner or whatever. It was more because they were like jealous of her because she was such a didn't care what people thought kind of personality. And so I switched her to Catholic school in 7th grade. And she went to Catholic school for 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And she did phenomenal there. And she made friends, and she played sports in those schools. And she did great academically until she got 9th grade at Bishop Shanahan. And then her grades weren't doing well. And I did warn her that whole school year that if she didn't pull her grades up, I was going to switch her back to public school. And I kept warning her, and she just wasn't pulling them up. So I unfortunately made the awful, dreadful, regretful decision of my life, and I regret it to this day, to switch her back to the school that she was attending in 10th grade. And it was the worst decision of my life, because that's where it all started.
Yeah, so, as parents, we do our best, right? We do our best, and you make decisions, and and there's so much going on at the time that muddies the water, right? Yep. And sometimes as parents, we don't always make the right decisions, and that's just kind of part of being a parent, right?
Absolutely. Soph, what do you remember about, what are some of your most vivid interactions with Christina?
Well, up until, I was with her, I'm sorry. I was with her about, I guess it was like 2 months before she passed away. We actually celebrated our birthdays together because hers is on the 14th and mine's on the 10th, right during COVID. So we had masks on and everything at that time. And it doesn't feel like I'm reflecting too far back. She's such a loud personality that I actually didn't hear that much about middle school from her experience until now. She wrote a lot of poetry. She was a really amazing writer, and you're still going through some of her stuff. Yeah, I have some of her poetry as well. She was also 25 when she passed away, and you could mistaken her soul for someone in their early 50s. She always felt like my older friend.
Right.
Now, I was a lot older than her. I'm going to be 33. And she's how many years younger?
5.
5, which is a significant amount of years.
Well, did Christina ever confide in you that she wasn't happy?
Oh, yeah.
Or
we were the person
what about the
called about that it's a huge responsibility for both of us to have as a friend. Anyone has friends who have gone through stuff. We went through the same amount of stuff, it felt like, emotionally, because she was always so present for me, and I was always there for her as well.
Where did you meet her?
I actually met her at Malvern in 2014.
At the Malvern Institute, rehab.
And we became best friends. I didn't really take that many French. I don't have anyone else that I've spoken to.
And we went to Florida together too, right?
And then we went to Florida together, and so it was a greater bond. And she was 18 or 19 at the time. Yeah.
You met at the Malvern
I met her at the age that she passed away.
Yeah, she had Caden. He was a little baby.
So she also has 2 boys.
Right, right. And I know you're involved with the 2 kids.
Well, my heart's involved with them. I see them often, and I love them.
Right.
And they are you going to mention Damien?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. One thing that we talked about on a one point or another daily basis was Damien. So Damien was her ex who passed away.
Who was Christina's ex.
I remembered that funeral. 2016.
2 years prior to Christina. Yeah.
And then she went really.
That was the love of her life.
Yeah, and that. So
and the boy's father. Yeah.
So they don't have, figure that way. And Tammy, Scott, and everyone that loves them they're lucky to have such a loving family.
Did you feel that when Christina would confide in you, I don't know what she confided in you, did you feel any conflict or responsibility that you needed to tell maybe Tammy that things weren't going right?
No, because it was never something that she would hide. I would go over there and we would hang out. She was my friend. It wasn't always about, very rarely was our conversation about drugs, because she would talk about the things that actually was leading her to drugs. She was very self-aware. She would call bullshit on any. Sorry.
She would call.
She would.
All right, okay.
BS on anyone that would.
Yeah.
She was very touched.
Straight shooter.
Yeah. So we talked about.
Okay,
things
good.
like
Hey, for just joining us now, we're having an extremely frank and somewhat difficult conversation with Tammy Leslie, whose daughter died in 2020 of an accidental. We call it an accidental.
No.
It was not accidental.
No. I call it fentanyl poisoning.
It was accidental by her.
Okay, she died of a fentanyl poisoning, and also Sophia.
Fentanyl and cocaine.
And what?
Fentanyl and cocaine.
And her best friend Sophia is here, just giving a little insight into their relationship. If you want to give us a call, it's 1-888-728-9941. That's 1-888-728-9941. Give us a call. Give us your thoughts. Give us how you would feel if this happened to you. Do you know anybody that this tragedy has happened to? Call us and let us know. And while we're at it, if you need help right now, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Line, call that number, 1-800-662-HELP. That's a real number. Real people are going to answer the phone, and it's really helpful. 1-800-662-HELP.
And the suicide hotline is 988. If you're feeling hopeless, call that number. You'll get help right away. Really important, just like 911.
Yeah, and I think, we're sort of fortunate as the years go on. There are more resources to help people who have addiction or mental illness or whatever. There are resources out there. But as Mark and I say, there are no drive-thrus and there's no delivery services. You got to go out and get it. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah, and keep the numbers around on your refrigerator, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Tammy, she's back. She's in high school now, Christina. Mm-hmm. And what's going on?
Oh, so she's, so I switched her back to her public school. And then she just started hanging out with that's when she started hanging out with the wrong group of kids. And she was just, she would leave school in the middle of the day, walk to Walmart. She just started doing really bad. And I would get calls to go up to the principal's office every single day. And she met Damien in high school. And he had all his own issues himself with substance use. And she wasn't really doing anything at that point except smoking pot and drinking. And then he got her kind of starting to use pills. She started taking pills. And then from there, I think he introduced her, along with the friends, to other stuff. Like, I think she started doing meth and then eventually heroin, I think, with Damien. And then that's just where it went downhill from there. And
so how many was Malvern Institute? By the way, Malvern Institute is a rehab outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Was that her first?
Inpatient rehab.
Inpatient rehab.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What other kind of resources were you able to provide?
She tried just regular counseling. She tried outpatient IOPs. She did. She went into psych wards a couple times for a couple days. She did Malvern a couple times, and right
afterwards she may have gone back.
And then
yeah, I think she may have. But Malvern was her first time. She was really just smoking pot at that time.
I think
really she wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Too heavily at that point. And that was 2014.
Were you afraid for her, Soph?
I was never afraid for Christina. I never really was because of how tough she is in her core. I mean, she really is. She was a very strong person. I mean, kind of a remarkably strong person. And she was really more there for me. And I mean, there was things I was going through that made it so that I was in some ways more of the focus at times that I think she may have been in more trouble, but she never was dishonest about it. She was so forthright about it that it was hard to be concerned about, anything more than is in your control or their control, because she was so honest.
Right. So, Tammy, Christina
But yes, I was always concerned.
You were concerned.
I was concerned about a few people in my life, and I was, not...
Especially towards the end. Like, I think very much towards the end. Like, that last year was most concerning.
Yes. But yes.
Did you have a feeling, Tammy, that maybe having the boys might have straightened her out?
Oh, no. That just made her it strained our relationship. And, I was hoping, yes, I was hoping that I didn't understand anything at the time. I was really kind of dumb, to be honest with you. I didn't understand that drugs was a disease. I didn't understand that it changed the chemistry of your brain. I was coming from a parent point of view where I just wanted her to stop. I just wanted her to get clean. Why couldn't you just stop, Christina? Why can't you stop for your boys and me? If you loved them enough, you would stop. Don't you love your boys enough that you would stop? I couldn't understand it, right? And
nor should you have.
No, I
How
just
would
couldn't
you have
understand it. No, I couldn't understand it. And I didn't reach out for help either. I think the stigma of it kept me in my little shell. I didn't want anybody to know. I just wanted it to keep in my family. My extended family knew.
Yeah. I think that's, Mark, don't you think that's a typical reaction to a family member, the shame, the embarrassment?
It's family secrets are a part of this whole thing most of the time. Big family secrets, right? And also there can be levels of family denial within the family, which is so common. And it's, it's one of the things that's so complicated about the disease of addiction is it really muddies the water and plays games with everybody's heads that are involved with the person that's using. So I imagine there's confusion, lots of confusion.
There is, and it changes the whole dynamic of the household too. So my boys were always coming at it Mom, why do you let her do this over and over and over again? Why do you let her...
Who would say this to you?
My boys. My 3 boys.
Your 3 boys.
And how old were they?
Same age as her. They're all the same age.
Okay.
They're all boom, boom, boom.
Gotcha.
She was right in the middle
And
of
was
them.
Christina the only one that had a addiction problem?
Yeah.
And did you...
But can I say something about
Yeah, sure.
She would, see normal high school or kid behavior from your boys. And I don't know, I think she knew she was an addict pretty young. I think she was pretty young when she realized that. But I think she would sometimes compare, they can do it,
Right.
Aaron,
Sure.
they're doing it, and why can't I? And I think that's a pretty normal response from any kid that's an addict, not an addict, doesn't matter what it is. It's just that comparison.
When she was in the midst of the worst part of her addiction, I know you loved her. Did you hate her?
Oh. Yeah, we had, like I was saying, we had such a strained relationship at the end where I was just so mad at her. She was mad at me. She hated me for having her boys. She thought I was keeping them from her. We weren't even really talking. It was awful. No, I didn't hate her. I loved her more than anything in this world.
But a good friend of the show, Tony Luke, had said, and this makes a lot of sense to me, hate the addiction, not the person.
Absolutely. That's it. Her behavior and what she was doing and how she was treating her boys and me and everything was just awful.
So did you end up getting, DHS or anything involved, or did you take the
we had them. Yeah, we had them.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was almost a reverse situation where we kind of had them, and she would see them and get visits and stuff when she was doing good.
Yeah,
because she had her own apartment. So
Interesting.
Yeah, it's just one of those things with, when the kids are involved and then the addiction is just so powerful. The old reptilian brain takes over. And so did you know she was going down to Kensington at this point or?
No, I had no clue.
Did you, Sophie?
I wasn't under the impression she was going there very often. Let's not forget that she didn't pass away in Kensington.
Right.
She was left there to make it look that she was just, to muddle the
But I do think she went there I think
sometimes.
Times.
She was afraid.
Because they did
really
know
scared.
her down there a couple times.
She wasn't, she was afraid to go there.
Couple. Yeah,
She still had a pretty healthy fear factor.
Yeah.
Or fear in her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to show beautiful Christina again to everybody.
Yeah, my baby. My only daughter.
Okay, so look, when we come back, we're going to continue. We need to keep talking about Christina. We need to keep her memory alive. And this is a rough interview, but it's a very important one, I think. So we'll be back.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Huntington Creek Recovery Center is Eastern Pennsylvania's premier provider of transformative care for individuals whose lives have been impacted by addiction. Our 40-acre campus offers a tranquil, recovery-focused environment. We specialize in evidence-based care that addresses the effects of trauma and offer a unique program specifically for adolescent males. Huntington Creek Recovery Center can help you achieve lasting sobriety. Call us today at 844-948-2320.
Hi, I'm Tony Luke Jr., and I listen to Clean and Sober Radio.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
And we are back. We're talking to Tammy Leslie, whose daughter, Christina Marie Gribbin, died in 2020 of a... what word do you like to use?
I like to use fentanyl poisoning.
Fentanyl poisoning.
Because that's kind of what it is.
That's pretty good. Listen, if you're just watching us, if you're just listening and you'd like to watch us, go to Facebook, the Clean and Sober Radio page, like these people are doing right now. Claudia Herman, Betsy Kalish, Debbie Reynolds, Lindsay Collins, Kathy Wolf Collin, Dan Campbell, Linda Carroll, Barry Salop. Linda Carroll says happy St. Patty's Day. Judge Christopher Maddox is watching. John Logue, Duke Snyder. I just want to say Judge Maddox says happy St. Patrick's Day. Have a good weekend. Prayers to all who loved Christina. Whew.
Todd Klotz, my sympathies to you. Addiction is such a destroying illness.
Wow. Joel Cooper. Tracy Patrizio Wickhart. Did I butcher that one good enough?
I think you may have.
Okay, all right, okay. Andrea Diaz.
My beautiful wife. Hello, Andrea.
Laura Story. Top of the day to you all. Another great day to be sober. Sorry for you and your loss.
Dan Campbell, my thoughts and prayers go out to the Christina family. Christina's portrait was at Millersville University with my son Danny for Into the Light awareness.
Yes, wow. That was a beautiful, beautiful, phenomenal.
Nancy Middick says, such a sad story. Yes, it is a sad story, and there's no way to get around that. But Tammy has, as I said, is turning pain into purpose. Tammy, tell us about this organization. You know, one thing that I know about what you're trying to do is, yes, these dealers of fentanyl should be charged as terrorists and should be dealt with in that way. And I know you're putting together a group of attorneys generals around the country. Tell us about your organization, what it's about, and what do you hope it will produce?
Okay, well, it's under the lead of a man named Jim Rural, and he is with families facing fentanyl. And he is actually the lead on that program of working with getting all the attorney generals across the United States to come together. And what they did was in the fall, about 17 to 19 attorney generals signed on to a letter back in November, and they wrote a letter to Biden, signed on to this letter, wrote a letter to Biden declaring fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction, trying to get it declared that, so it'll open up resources from the federal government. So it'll open up resources for, more aid, more resources to the DEA and everything down at the border. to fight this crisis.
How has it been received?
He ignored the letter initially. Actually, he's ignored it. I don't even know if he's responded. So they sent a follow-up letter this year in 2023, and we're still trying to get more attorney generals to sign on. And there's other political figures that have signed on to it as well. And I'm trying to get the Pennsylvania attorney general to get involved and sign on as well. I've just been having a little difficulty getting in there because it's the new attorney general.
Right.
But, yeah.
So how many attorneys general, that's actually the
Attorneys general.
have you gotten so far?
There are, like I said, I think it's 17
or
18.
18. That's fantastic. You're able to do that. I saw a television show that I think Lindsey Graham was behind this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, involved with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that him and a couple other senators have been vocally now recently voicing that they're going to step up and they're behind it. So that's really good. And I don't know if anything will come of that, but it is good that they're stepping up. And it's becoming more, with the news media, it's becoming more talked about. So the more people talk about it, the more all of us families push and get these PSAs out there and really push.
How does somebody get involved in this, or how does somebody donate or do whatever?
You can join all kinds of Facebook groups. We have one called APPAWD, which I'm a part of, called the Association of People Against Lethal Drugs.
Yeah.
And you can join that one. There's a group called For Them We Fight. Facing Fentanyl. There's all kinds of groups out there now, and you can join these groups, and they all want the same thing, to fight this fentanyl at the border.
Boy, Mark, I'm telling you something right now.
And in Mexico.
I'm so angry with, I mean, when I'm listening to this and knowing Christina's story, I think they should shoot these people right on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to put it in perspective, we lost, 2,900 people for 9/11, right? And we went into Afghanistan, we went into Iraq, we had all this going on. And we're losing, people don't realize how many people are due to fentanyl. 70,000 a year.
That's just reported.
That's
it's
just
over
reported.
100,000.
Yeah, it's 106,003. I forget the exact number off the top of my head, but it's 106,000 plus.
Yeah, overdoses. I mean, they think 70,000 is from the opioids and the synthetics.
Yeah.
But total overdoses, but still 70,000 people. I mean, that's World War II.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lost generation.
So what is this? So what? I'm tongue-tied because I just don't understand. From what I know, we're really not doing that much.
We got it. I mean, in my opinion, and it sounds crazy to some people, is we got to send the military. We got to have the military go in and destroy these labs in Mexico, and they'll learn quickly. They'll figure out another way to go. If we took it that seriously, but that's what needs to happen.
I'll tell you another way to go. And we've talked about this on the show. The recovery community in this country is huge. It's 25 million people. Now, 25 million people could sway any election. So people, when elections are coming up, ask your representatives what they are doing about this problem. It's disgusting. It's mind-boggling. I mean, we don't do. Mm-hmm.
It really is, and we'd love to hear from you. If anybody has any opinions, 888-728-9941. And it is crazy. This poison just all over. I mean, I'm reading reports of babies and people. It's the leading cause of death from poisonings of children under 5 at this point.
Yes, it is. The families facing fentanyl that I was talking about, that group, they're actually the ones that are tracking and doing all the data. And yes, under 5 in the last, since 2020 has, I forget the percentage, but it's quadrupled in numbers of deaths. Mm-hmm.
Now, these kids obviously are only getting it from their parents.
Yeah. They're pills. I mean, pills left,
I heard that animals are dying from it.
I believe it. I mean,
I guess
it's just that powerful. It's a nightmare scenario. And, I've talked about this before. I'm a therapist in the field. And, when the opioid epidemic in 2006, 2007, you would see batches come through where fentanyl was involved, and you'd hear of all these spiking overdoses, and it would be a disaster. But now it's all has fentanyl in it, especially in the Philadelphia area. West Coast is a little different, but Philadelphia area and East Coast, it's basically all fentanyl mixed in with some other stuff.
Absolutely. If you're just joining us now, we're talking to Tammy Leslie. Her daughter, Christina, died from fentanyl poisoning in 2020. Unspeakable tragedy, beyond anything I could even comprehend. Tammy has now turning her pain into purpose. She's doing something. She's giving back. She's trying to make a difference. And that's what we need to do. Grassroots, trying to make a difference.
And how do you feel about just taking Christina's energy and putting it into this kind of project? Do you feel like that there's just such a drive to do this after losing her?
I do. Not everybody has this drive, this motivation after you lose a child. Because I have one group of parents, like moms, that are my healing community, a group that I belong to up in Long Island. And they're my group. They're my moms. They're my moms, my healing. I go on retreats with them. And they are not into the advocacy and all that. But then you have my other group basket where it's ones that have this drive. They're my tribe. They're the ones that are fighting this every single day. And I have this drive, and I will do this until the day I die, until this fentanyl is stopped, for Christina's sake, because I feel these kids are dying. And not just the ones that have substance use disorder, but the ones that don't. The ones that are just kids that are just teenagers going on Snapchat and social media and asking for one pill. I'm just going to take a pill. I want to try a pill. And it comes and it kills them instantly in their bedroom. One pill. That's just beyond me. And I don't want that to happen to any parent. I'm seeing all these parents it's happening to, and it's awful.
Tammy, how do you keep it together on a daily basis? How do you do that?
I guess just because I don't know. I guess I have to. Because I have her boys.
I know that.
So I look at them and I see Christina in them.
Do they ask questions? Are they old enough?
Yeah. I told them just recently, kind of the truth, but on their level. I just kind of told them a pill story about pills. Fentanyl. They know about fentanyl, and they know about pills. That's kind of their level, I think, on elementary school level.
Right, right.
Yeah. So I scared them to death about pills. Told them not to ever take a pill from anybody, ever, unless it's me, like your parents, or a doctor.
Do they ask specifically about their mother?
Well, they know. We talk about her all the time. In our household.
Oh, good.
Oh, all the time. She's an everyday,
So you keep her memory alive.
Oh.
You keep her memory. And focusing on all this, the good, right? Putting that focus on that, not letting the disease of addiction pollute all the good that she did when she was here.
Yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah, I know. Generally, I think that we talk about the negative of this horror. We don't talk about the positive. The people that are doing incredible things behind the scenes are not getting credit. They're not being acknowledged. But, people like you are the ones that make it happen.
And saving lives. That's the other part about this. I mean, if we can do something about this, it's going to save so many people. I mean, so having that advocacy is so important.
That's the goal, is to save lives.
Can you remember when you got that phone call?
Well, it was during COVID, which happened in March, and she died in June. So I was home working remote, at home full time, remote. So I was at the kitchen table working on my computer and everything, and I didn't get a phone call, but the 2 cops came to the door. And, I just thought it was another, what did Christina do? That happened a lot. And, so I'm like, oh boy, 2 cops are in the driveway. What happened now? And, my husband was home also because of COVID. All the companies were kind of shut down. He was home still as well. And the kids were home from school, doing their schoolwork at home. So they were running around outside because it was June. And one of them, somebody came in and said, cops are here. And then they came in the house, and then they told me, your daughter was found.
Oh, God.
No, they said, your daughter passed away.
Right.
She's no longer, however they worded it. And I said, I was still sitting at the table, and I just remember saying, what? And they said she died. And I just couldn't even believe it. Couldn't even comprehend it.
You're in shock.
Yeah, I was in shock. And then I got up from the table, and my older adult son, one son was there, my one twin. And just my one twin was there. And I said, he came and he was standing there with me. And then he said, the one police officer said, well, she was found. I wanted to tell you, though, she was found in Kensington in a suitcase. And I'm like, I literally couldn't even wrap my head around what he was telling me. I'm like, I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean she was found in a suitcase?
Oh, my God.
What are you talking about? And they're like, well, she was found in a suitcase. And I could not even, I just remember thinking, oh my God, like, I just kept picturing like her body parts in a suitcase.
Were you screaming?
I just fell apart. I don't even remember. I just remember falling apart, and I think Aaron was hugging me or something, and I don't remember. I just remember telling my husband to keep the boys outside, and
man, I would tell you,
I don't remember.
You are one strong person.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Really.
I think I called my sister, told her to come over. And my older son, called him. And Christina's dad, he came over. Because that night we had to tell the boys something. So Christina's dad and I told the boys that Christina went to sleep and didn't wake up because I had no clue what to tell them.
So the kids.
Yeah, and they were little.
How old were they at the time?
5 and 7 or something.
Man. So you have this happen, and you can hear the shock, and you can hear to this day it doesn't go away, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, I guess it was trying to figure out what exactly happened, huh?
That took a long time to get over that trauma. Lots of therapy.
Yeah.
Get that out of. Needless to say, it wasn't her body parts. It was just her, but still, just as traumatic. But yeah, she was found on a platform off the guys took her out of Upper Darby onto 69th Street bus, and then down to the train, and then on the train onto the platform in Kensington, and left her there.
Why?
Just because they could. And they put thought into it, too, because they actually had to go out. After she had died, they had to go out and get the suitcase and bring it back to their apartment and then do it, yeah.
Well, I guess I'm trying to understand what was the benefit to them to move her body.
To make it look like she was a victim of Kensington. Yeah, they had something to hide. I think that I personally truly believe, because I think they were users of fentanyl, and I truly believe that they knew that Christina had taken fentanyl. She didn't know. Because I don't think she was ever taking fentanyl knowingly. And I think that they knew, and they had gotten it. And I think they were hiding it and stuff. Like it was their panic decision or whatever they made.
This story obviously is extremely personal because it's your story, but this story is heard all over the country.
Yeah.
Stories like this, stories about drug abuse, stories about kids that get misguided, and go different paths, and that end up losing their lives. Mm-hmm. And not only just losing their lives, losing their families. Mm-hmm. Just like an addiction, the families get left with all the crap forever.
They do. And, and it's important that if people are still using out there, to know that there are laws on the books to protect somebody from calling for help if somebody overdoses and they're with them. Because one of the issues is people are so scared of getting busted that they don't call the authorities and, save the person.
Absolutely. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. It's extremely difficult, but extremely important. So don't go away.
This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Diversity in the workplace is more than gender, ethnicity, and even age. It also means people in recovery. The Higher Calling Foundation works to end the stigma of substance use disorders in the workplace by helping those in recovery find jobs, get career counseling, and more. All things insurance doesn't cover, and all at no cost. And encouraging businesses to hire employees in recovery. Because with the Great Resignation, there are jobs to be filled, and employees in recovery are an untapped demographic. It's mutually beneficial, and it's simply good business. Started by employment attorney in recovery Kevin Heyer, the Higher Calling Foundation believes everyone deserves a second chance and works to make that happen. And now, diversity in the workplace demands it. Visit highercalling.org. That's HYER calling.org and find out how we can help you.
Hi, I'm Billy J. Kramer, and I listen to Clean and Sober Radio.
888-728-9941. This is Clean and Sober Radio.
Hey, if you're just joining us now, Tammy Leslie's here, and we're talking about her beautiful daughter, Christina, who died of fentanyl poisoning. That's right, fentanyl poisoning that does kill. And it's not just the other person it kills either. And so we're talking about some pretty difficult stuff, and Tammy's being pretty great about it. I don't know if I could do it. So I just want to mention people that are actually watching the show on Facebook, Clean and Sober Radio. I think this one is directed towards you, Tammy. Adina Rashuti Gribbin. Thank you so much, Tammy and Sophie, for sharing Christina's story and for all you do to spread the word on this terrible situation. This will help so many families.
I was just curious. Did she like butterflies? I noticed the picture.
She liked butterflies. She loved giraffes and llamas. I have a whole arm sleeve now of all tattoos of things she loved.
Wow.
She's probably up in heaven like, what in the world are you doing, Mom?
She probably didn't expect that,
No, not at all. I've got llamas, and I've got a red cardinal. I've got all kinds of tattoos now because of her.
Yeah, and we were talking a little bit during the break, like your spirituality is helping you, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I am, I feel connected because of, I know that she's in good hands. I know she's with, she's not suffering anymore. She had so many mental health issues as well. I feel like they definitely, it's co-occurring disorder. Absolutely. And she had bipolar and depression, and she used to cut herself when she was stressed out, and like for relief, kind of, and in high school. And she was, the last year of her life, she was so depressed and so down, because I can read all her poetry now and all her writings and journals, and I can see how bad she was. Like, she was in the lowest of darkest of places where she wanted to die. Like, it's in her writings. She was really bad.
Are you at peace, and do you feel a sense of relief?
It's not relief, because I miss her so much, more than anything in this whole world, and I would give anything to have her back here. But I am thankful she's not suffering anymore. So there's that. And I do absolutely 1,000% know that I will see her again, and I cannot wait for that day.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, I have friends. I do have friends that have lost their kids, and the only thing they say that is positive, if you can say, but they don't have to worry about getting that phone call.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you said there's something about the suffering, and in my opinion, it's the worst suffering somebody can possibly go through. Here your reptilian brain's taken over, and you're hurting everybody around you that you love, and somewhere inside you're observing this, and the amount of suffering, and you mentioned dual diagnosis or having mental health issues at the same time, and I'll tell you, as a clinician, it really complicates somebody's ability to get and stay clean. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's almost nearly, it's never impossible, but nearly so when these other co-occurring are coming in at the same time. I mean, it's just, gosh.
Oh, and she could never find the medicines or get to the medicine, get to the doctors without a car, if she didn't have her car, or get to the doctors, and then when she would get her medicine, she wouldn't take it the right way. Like she could never.
Side effects.
It just never worked out for her.
Yeah, and it's and particularly with bipolar is such a tough one because, when somebody's in a mania, what people don't realize a lot of times is if they're manic, like the decision making is completely out the window, right? And then if they're depressed, it's like it's debilitating. But it's really hard to get clean, stay clean if you're manic, right? Because you're going to be acting out all over the place if it's not treated correctly.
Correct.
And somebody's not on a mood stabilizer or the right one.
Tom, did you ever go to Al-Anon or Nar-Anon or any of those
I never
12
did
steps?
anything because deep inside I always wanted to, but something always held me back.
What do you
I was
think?
always scared to.
Scared? Well, that's. Listen, Mark and I talk about going to the first AA meetings. Really frightening.
Totally freaked out.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
I was always scared to. I never just wanted to go anywhere. I didn't want people to know. I didn't want to go out of my shell. I guess it would be me admitting something or whatever. And so, but she went to them all the time. I mean, when she was working her program, she was working her program.
Wow.
When she was on key,
Yeah.
she went to her meetings. She had her books. But I have all her books still and everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she had periods when she was staying clean and working a
Not
program.
long periods, but yeah.
Periods, yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. So the reaction you had to it is you didn't want to go to the meetings, stay. I'd probably be the same way. I just don't want. It's scary. It's not going to help me. It's hard work to go to these meetings and to listen to some of these stuff. Way harder in the Al-Anon and Nar-Anon than the actual AA and NA meetings because usually they're the people that are affected by this.
But that's why, see, all this that I'm telling you is why I have so many regrets and so many, I wish I could do over. So many do-overs. I wish I had second chances because I hate that I couldn't. I wish I could change things. I wish I did reach out more, and I wish I knew more, and I wish I made more of an effort to really understand what she was going through and more about the disease. Because after she died, I knew everything. Now I know everything under the sun there is to know about drugs and substance use and the terms and what it is. And I've been on webinars and classes, and I'm even going to get certified. I'm going to be a certified family recovery specialist. I went and applied for that, and I just had an interview last week. And fentanyl, my gosh, everything that there is to know. Why didn't I do that when she was alive? Why?
Okay, are you saying that so people that are listening to this show now understand that they should be doing stuff like that?
Yes, absolutely.
If they can.
Yes.
It's easy
Don't
to
do what I did. Save your child. Yes, absolutely.
All the whole list of things that you
absolutely.
And you're going through, we call it bargaining. It's stage of grief when
It's
you
just
look
guilt.
back and Yeah.
So much guilt, and I am not the only one. All of us parents, all of us moms, every group I have been in since she died, I've been in millions of groups. I've done so many different grief groups, and every single mom and dad I've talked to that have lost a child to this disease and fentanyl have all said the same thing. They all have guilt.
Of course.
All have guilt.
Tammy, thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. No, it wasn't easy, but I'm sure it was very helpful to a lot of people. Remember, if you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, help is available. Please call 1-800-662-HELP. For Clean and Sober Radio, I'm Gary Hendler.
I'm Mark Sigmund.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about this broadcast, please join us on our mission at cleanandsoberbroadcasting.com.
Everybody is a I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves. I hope we pass the audition.